We tend to think of math as, well, kind of sterile, right? All numbers and logic, totally separate from the messy real world. But what if I told you that just one random date on the calendar could blow that idea right out of the water? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're picking February 6th, and we're going to unlock some absolutely incredible human stories that are hiding right behind the numbers.
So, what can one single day really reveal? Turns out, a whole lot. We're not just talking about theorems and equations here. Nope. This is a story about war, about facing down impossible odds, and about a kind of genius so huge it couldn't be contained by just math. It spilled over into music, into magic, even philosophy.
And just take a look at the cast of characters this one day gives us. We've got people from the legendary Bernoulli family, the math dynasty. We've got pioneers in astronomy, a logician who passed away just a few years back. The sheer amount of history packed into this one day is just staggering. And this is our way in, our entry point into some truly amazing lives.
Okay, so our first theme, it's a heavy one, but it's so important. It's where math and world conflicts collide. These stories, they really show how the lives of these brilliant minds were just completely turned upside down, sometimes tragically, by war, by persecution, by all the political chaos of their times.
So, let's start with Ernst Jacobsthal. Picture this, a man at the absolute peak of his career. He's a respected professor in Berlin, famous for his amazing work in number theory. Everything's going right. But his life and everything he's built is on a direct collision course with one of the darkest moments in modern history.
Look at this timeline. It's not just a series of dates, it's the blueprint of a life being systematically destroyed. You can literally see the chaos building. In a little over 10 years, Jacobsthal goes from this highly respected professor to nothing. Stripped of his job, then he becomes a refugee, literally running for his life. This wasn't some slow decline, it was a complete, catastrophic collapse, all driven by pure hate.
And then there's this. This is the actual language, the cold, bureaucratic jargon that ended his career. There's no emotion, right? Just this chillingly formal notice. Such a stark reminder that sometimes the most awful things are delivered not with a shout, but with the simple stroke of a pen.
And you might think, okay, that was the 20th century, but this kind of thing, it's not new. Let's rewind the clock a few hundred years, back to the 1600s. You'll find another February 6th mathematician, Antoine Arnauld. He was hounded for his religious beliefs. His ideas put him on the wrong side of both the king and the pope, which, that's not a great place to be. He was forced into hiding and eventually had to leave the country. The details are different, but the pattern of persecution, it's exactly the same.
And sometimes it wasn't even about being directly targeted. Sometimes war just gets in the way. Take Adam Günther. He was this promising young student, everything ahead of him, and then bam, the Franco-Prussian War breaks out. His entire academic career just gets put on hold, shattered really. His classroom got replaced by the front lines. It just goes to show, even if you're not the target, conflict can throw a massive wrench in the gears of science.
But the conflicts that define a life aren't always fought out there on battlefields. Sometimes, the biggest battles, they're the ones fought inside. And that brings us to our next big idea, the incredible power of perseverance when you're up against odds that just seem impossible.
Okay, I just want you to listen to this for a second. Try to really picture it. This was the day-to-day reality for a mathematician named Ferran Sunyer. He was born with such a severe motor disability that he was almost completely dependent on his family for everything, for the most basic things we take for granted. And yet, this is who he became, one of Spain's leading analysts. So you have to ask, how in the world does that happen? How does someone with those kinds of physical limits become a mathematical giant? Well, it's because while his body might have been trapped, his mind was absolutely limitless. Sunyer taught himself everything. He would work out these incredibly complex problems entirely in his head and then dictate the solutions to his mother or his cousins.
And get this, the doctors at the time actually told his family not to educate him. They were worried the mental strain would literally kill him. Can you imagine? Luckily, his family basically told him to get lost, especially after he went and taught himself how to read when he was only 4 years old. So his story, it's not just about his own personal genius. It's also this incredible testament to his family's belief in him, their defiance.
Of course, overcoming the odds can look very different for different people. Take Cecily Tanner. She was born into a family of famous mathematicians. Both her parents, William and Grace Young, were well known. So for her, the challenge was different. It was about stepping out from under that huge shadow and carving out her own identity. And she did it brilliantly. She made her own name first in analysis and then later as a really important historian of mathematics.
All right, for our last big theme, we're looking at minds that were just too big for one box. Minds so expansive they couldn't be contained by just mathematics. We're talking about the polymaths, the people whose genius just flowed everywhere into totally different fields.
And you have to start with the one and only Raymond Smullyan, who passed away on February 6, 2017. This quote, it's just pure Smullyan. It perfectly captures his mind. It's playful, it's deep, and it's always twisting logic around in the most delightful way. You can almost hear him chuckling as he says it, right? And look at all the different lives he lived. We're not talking about casual hobbies here. The man mastered these things. He was a professional magician, a concert pianist, a philosopher, and of course, the author of all those amazing logic puzzles that sneakily taught deep mathematical ideas to millions of people, myself included.
And Smullyan wasn't some one-off anomaly. If you go back a century, you find another February 6th polymath, Joseph Winlock. This guy wasn't just a math professor, he was a world-class astronomer who ended up running the Harvard College Observatory. He was designing and building brand new instruments, leading expeditions to watch eclipses, the whole deal.
So here you can really see the incredible range we're talking about. You've got Smullyan, who connected logic to magic and music. You have Winlock, who connected pure math to the cosmos. And then there's Günther again, whose work stretched across physics, meteorology, and geography. These were truly minds without borders. They just refused to be put in a single box.
Okay, so we've taken this wild journey through just one day in history. Where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway from looking at all these lives, all connected by the simple fact that they were born or died on February 6th? I think it shows us this, loud and clear. Mathematics is not some cold, sterile thing that exists in a vacuum. It is a profoundly human story. It's the story of Ernst Jacobsthal, the refugee. It's the story of Ferran Sunyer, the brilliant mind that defied all physical limits. And it's the story of Raymond Smullyan, the genius who found pure joy in logic and music and magic. And I want to leave you with this really wonderful idea from Cecily Tanner. She had this theory that maybe mathematics is so fundamental, so deeply woven into the very fabric of how we think, that most of the time we don't even notice it's there. It just becomes second nature, as natural as breathing. Look, at the end of the day, February 6th is just one day. There are 364 others just like it. Every single date on the calendar is a doorway, a portal to more of these hidden stories of struggle, of genius, and of boundless curiosity. So the real question I want to leave you with is, what will you discover next?